Oh yeah. Let's bring it off the, it's got a fast idle. To bring it off, you just blip it once. It changes idle instantly, that quick fuel carburetor. Better. More better. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another vlog. So today we got Samuel with us doing some photos, and I wanted to talk about some more stuff with the gray truck that I've been getting a lot of questions about, including the interior and some more stuff with the engine and some more stuff with this exhaust too, because we've changed quite a lot. Now the exhaust on this thing, like I said in a previous video, I actually had a C5 Corvette, sold it, took the stock system, you know, obviously put that back on and then ripped the boilers off of it, and pretty much what we did was we turned them backwards and then just mounted them, welded it into place, and then ran it over the axle. It's not really anything special about it. It's a pretty basic setup. One thing I do want to talk about though, guys, is this rear wheel tire setup. One of the biggest issues that I found with this truck when I first lowered it and did this 5.7 drop was I had issues rubbing with the wrong setup, and right now I'm not really experiencing any rub. Like maybe it might try to touch the tire, but it doesn't really ever rub. If I rolled these fenders a little bit, I don't think I'd have a problem, but this is not even, they're not even rolled at this point. Yeah, so basically this setup here is a 275/40 20. It's a Pirelli, 8.5 inches wide. That's the rim size, and the tire makes it, I think it's around 10.5 or almost 11 inches wide, somewhere in there. Not really sure. You can use a wheel tire calculator and get those specs, but the front of the truck has a 5-inch drop. Back of the truck has a 6-inch drop. Actually relocated the axle to the top of the leaf spring and then cut the frame for the axle to travel up inside it. A few other things I also had to do with that was notch out these corners on the bed. I'll get this truck in the air in another video and I'll show you guys all the work that we had to do there. That was kind of a big deal, notching all that out. And that was one of my biggest mods that we did. I don't know if you can really see this all that well, but back in here, if you can see those bolts, that's actually the C-notch that was bolted in. We did all that ourselves. And you basically had to cut the frame to get that to all line back up, and then bolt this piece in, or you can weld it in. You can actually do it either way. It works pretty good both ways. So I wanted to go over a couple things there. And also on the interior, I've had a lot of questions. People have been asking, what kind of steering wheel do you have? You know, kind of interior, upholstery. Pretty much it's stock. Went to a local shop, Speedway Seat Covers in Johnson City, if you're from this area. It's in East Tennessee, and they do pretty good work. They do a lot of high-end stuff. So he basically redid the door panels. They also redid the bench seat in here, and the carpet is all new. The dash I'm about to fix. There's some cracks in it from old age. The radio is a Pioneer. It's a pretty new unit. Of course, this piece is black for now. Bet this is really my next big mod, is going to be switching this dash out. I'll have a big upload on that because we're going to get into a lot of wiring, and also with the tachometer and changing some stuff there. Now the steering wheel also, you guys asked about it, is a Flamin' River, and you can get the adapter also from Flamin' River, and it'll bolt on any GMT 400. So that's a couple more things that we've changed about the inside. And I've also had a lot of questions about this shifter, and the shifter is custom made. I did this back in high school. It was actually a project. They wanted us to create a project for a machine shop class, and they were like, just come up with something that you think would be cool and draw it and do it. So I drew up the shifter, found my thread pitch, and cut threads in it, turned it down, made a short throw out of it. Basically, I took a Hurst that you can buy at any parts store, mounted it on top of this, and created a short throw shifter for a GMT 400. Anybody that's running this that has a NV 3500 probably would work with an NV 4500 too. It's pretty close to the dash, but it's got plenty of clearance. I don't have any trouble shifting gears in this thing at all. It helped the throw out a little bit since it's a little shorter than the stock shifter. And I like the feel of the pistol grip. I tend to not miss as many gears with that. It's just my personal preference, but you know. And then we got Samuel over here. 327, 11 to 1. Well, it's actually 10.8 to 1 compression, so not really 11 to 1. But it's bored 30 over. It's got a comp cam 280H, 480 lift with a 110 lobe separation. Headman, long tubes. There's also a ceramic coated version. I think I picked these up for around 700. They're not too bad. I also have a throttle linkage bracket from AED. MSD as far as the distributor, MSD on the ignition. This entire setup is from a 4.3 liter V6 because that's what this truck was. And I also wanted to talk to you guys about how much work is involved to go from V6 to V8 in these trucks and what all do you need to do. So what I did is the frame mounts that are down here, that all this bolts to with your clamshell mount that has the rubber bushing in it that mounts to the block itself. You have to go through the suspension to get to the 3 bolts back here to change all that out. Of course, both sides have to change. And when you do that, it automatically puts this engine exactly where it would be as if it was a V8 truck, meaning everything pretty much just lines right up, like literally. Swap this engine out. This is like a late 60s engine, so took everything out, swapped it right over, and it bolted up and lined up almost perfectly. I mean, it's intended to have a V8 in it, so if you put the right mounts in it, you won't have an alignment problem. Even with a manual transmission, still didn't have to do anything there. Same cross member, same bolt holes, same everything, same clutch, pilot bushing, everything worked. Pretty neat. So, trying to think of what else did I have to do to this thing. Oh yeah. Now, when you go from TBI to a carburetor, this is kind of a big deal. Of course, you've got a lot of wires that runs off this thing. So right now I have a coolant temp, I have a voltmeter, and I believe I'm also running, I think that's it. Coolant temp, voltmeter. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Runs off of this, and then have an AC also that's still hooked up. Same AC that came off the 4.3, nothing special. All this bolts to the 350. You know, with those heads, they'll all bolt up. There's no need to drill anything or do anything. These are 041 casting heads from like a late 60s Camaro or a C10. You would have found them more than likely in a Camaro SS, like a late 60s. Of course, all of that will interchange. You know, it's a great thing about GM, guys. There's not really anything that you can't buy that you can't make work or just bolt it on. So, like I said, once you change those out, everything pretty much lines up. I did replace the lower radiator hose, upper radiator hose, and to avoid the fan shroud problem, I went to a Flex-A-Lot, one of their larger cooling fans, which also runs off of a thermostat. So, I don't know if you can see it, but that guy goes into the radiator and then goes down to this box, which then controls when this comes on. Pretty easy to set up. You just get the truck at idle temperature where you want it, turn the knob until it comes on, and then when it's in its lowest setting, you can then control that. My fans come on around 170, 180. Typically, though, the truck runs like 160, 180. You know, it doesn't get hot. I've actually run it without a fan for a while and never got above 180 to 200 when you're moving. I just never had a problem with it. Everything cools so well under these things. I've never had an issue with heat. So the wiring, back to that was another big topic. We basically picked a wire that was like a throttle position sensor. Anything that gets power when the key switch is on will control your MSD, because that is a one-wire distributor that has a module and everything contained within itself. So with it being a one-wire, you just got a hot in the ground, and then there's like a key switch wire as well. So it's pretty easy to wire up. It's really not all that bad to wire up, guys. Just pick a wire that gets current, use a voltmeter. When the key switch is on and when the key switch is off, it doesn't get current. That's pretty much how this works. Now another thing, don't let somebody tell you that you can't use a stock fuel pump. We're using a stock fuel pump, and we do not have any issues with this at all. Stock fuel pump in this is regulated. That's what you're looking at back here. A lot of people actually ask me if that's nitrous, and it kind of almost, if you don't know what you're looking at, looks like nitrous, but it's not. That regulator is taking this from, I think, around 28 psi, which is what the throttle body, fuel injection 4.3 would have had. This gets it down to about 5.5 to 5 psi. That's all you need for running a carburetor, because this setup here is a quick fuel. It's a annular carburetor, so it sprays instead of having a down leg, which just has one nozzle. This one has like 6. It also is running a RPM air gap Edelbrock intake, and it's a dual plane too. I went with a dual plane to get the torque down low. Typically a single plane will get you more power up top, and it's better throughout the higher RPM range. This is a street truck. I'm obviously not running this thing wide open everywhere I go, so I went with a dual plane. It's just a better carburetor for a street application. This setup here probably makes, at the crank, I'm going to say around 375 from most of the research I've done. And I'd say to the wheels, you'd be lucky to get 320, 350, if you're lucky, maybe 300. I mean, it's not really the horsepower, it's the torque. I feel like it's got more torque than power. That's just from the seat of my pants driving it, that's how it feels. It's really torquey down low, like you lay into it and it's instant. The Camaro, it kind of, you feel the torque and then it just keeps rolling. And this thing, it's like instant torque, and when you get to higher RPMs, you can definitely tell that you're starting to lose your torque. With the cam that's in there, and the heads that's on it, and the intake and everything, it's really geared more around, operating ranges of 2,000 RPMs up to about 58 to 6, maybe 62 being max. That's kind of the max for this setup. Anything past that, you're just kind of getting out there. So that's just a few more things I wanted to tell you guys about. I know in some of my videos, honestly, I've done a couple videos on this thing and I forget what I've talked about in each one because there's so many things I've changed, guys. Like, if you'll watch the first upload that I ever did on this truck, which is the muscle truck is back, you'll see what it looked like with no engine, and basically us trying to rebuild the V6 and just put it back together, just make it a truck that I can drive. And it's come a long way. It's nothing like it once was. We got more builds to come. This is not the end for this truck. It may get a different engine one day, because shortly after I built this, LS swaps became kind of popular. About 2010, 2011, this truck was completed. In 2012, I think, is when I put a V8 in it. Shortly after doing that, the LS swaps became popular, and now I'm sitting here kind of thinking, maybe one day we'll stuff an LS1 or an LS3 down in it, depending on what comes up. Even a 5.3 with a cam would just be fun, and maybe even go back auto. I don't know about that one. The NV is such a fun little transmission. I mean, it does well. It's never left me sitting. And on the clock right now, this is something else I bet you guys had no idea. This truck currently has 350,930 miles on it. And that's the original transmission, the original diff, the original control arms, and a lot of the electronics, a lot of the wiring, dash. I mean, there's a few other things that's still on the truck that still work and still function with 350,000 miles on it. Also has, that's stock diff, guys, and it's got that many miles on it. Just shows how a well-maintained truck can live through the abuse that I put it through. Of course, it's an open diff. And I think at one time it may have had a limited slip, because sometimes this truck will lock and it'll get crazy all over the road, and then sometimes it just fries one wheel. I don't know. with 350,000 miles on it, my guess is if it had a limited slip, it is gone. Maybe it kicks in every now and then, but it's pretty much gone. So, but for what I use this truck for, it's been just fine. I will go back and rebuild the rear end, and I will have changes coming for that. We'll have uploads coming also. But I just wanted to go over a few more things with you guys and talk about some future mods and things that we've done, how to get your truck to a V8 if you've got a V6. Now obviously this build didn't cost a lot. You can do this relatively cheap if you have a V6 Silverado. By the time you do the machine work and install it yourself, assuming that you can do an engine swap and save the money from going to a shop and paying someone to do it, I've probably got maybe $3,000 in this entire build with the engine swap. Within the truck it's definitely more than that, but within the engine swap itself, around $3,000 will build you a mild street engine with around 400 horsepower and hook it to most of the stock components. So I just wanted to go over that today, talk about some stuff, and I hope you guys enjoyed this upload. If you did, subscribe and share this video. Thanks for watching.
Alright, what we got here is a twin turbo V6. Alright, so, but I got Gatorade in here running straight into my cab so I can drink when I get dehydrated.
Yep.
I want something just like